the key to being a good sage. So, on the last video, we just went through the whole skill set for Awakening Sage. And I do really think, as I said on that video, that the key on being a good sage is learning how to move well and efficiently. So, let's get into that specific point. What we are gonna be learning on this video is gonna be about fast cancels on our movement skills. Although I don't want to say this is a specific combination of movement, it's just a matter that Sage is such a freestyle sort of type class in which if you know what could come after every skill, you're gonna end up having your own version of Sage. So let's get started, right? First things off, movement, basic movement is bold. Nothing really can come after bold. It's just a skill, a movement skill that can legit come after any other. So like as I explained with the overcharged Volt, you're gonna be able to cast the skill even out of cooldown, and it's gonna be winning iframe effect if it's casted if it's on overcharge, and it's gonna be up on the cooldown part. Not much you can cancel movement-wise with Bolt, but other skills are going to be able to be used with different versions. So, movement-wise, let's go into Search now. Search is an interesting skill because the same way as Bolt, you are able to spam Search, the difference being that it loses the protection. But what is interesting on Search is that after Search, we can, for example, fast cast Spear Bolt. Nothing much else we can talk about Search. It's just that it is a good tool to reposition, but be aware that spamming it may cause us to get CC more often than we would like. So let's go into Spear Bolt, which is another skill that has a debate in itself, which is the core. And here I'm gonna go into the debate on why I think Spear Bolt core it's inconsistent for me. Although it could be a nice catch because on paper, Spear Bolt core is our only possible SA KD. The truth is that whenever we do the forward F key input, it's not always gonna be Spear Bolt. And let me show you why. First thing that we can do to cast Spear Bolt is gonna be RMB. RMB is gonna secure us that the first cast of the skill is gonna be Spear Bolt. Although, if we use it again, it's also gonna be able to use Aftershock. So, whenever we are in different scenarios, we are already gonna doubt whether if we are using Aftershock or Spear Bolt. This is already the most simple scenario we can count on. Whether if we are doing RMB forward F and it's gonna cast Spear Bolt, or RMB forward F and it's gonna cast Aftershock. But we cannot really control it, right? Because depending on the flow of the fight, we might have that cooldown. But let's get a little bit deeper. What if instead we go into Empaling Flash? Empaling Flash, by itself, it's already a good movement skill, right? Shift E, it's gonna give us a good amount of distance. It's also a protected CC, but I don't know if you really saw. If I try to do forward F, which cancels naturally, it's going into Aftershock, and it doesn't prioritize in Spear Bolt. So here comes more the inconsistency. But let's just say that we do have Aftershock on cooldown, and Spear Bolt is gonna be coming up, and we do Empaling Flash. Now it's not only Empaling Flash, it also casted Spear Bolt rather than Aftershock. So we cannot really tell which one is being used. That doesn't mean that it should only be able to cast one of the two, but we don't really have any sort of... Like in the middle of the fight, we're not gonna be so aware of which one is up, and getting control of which one we're gonna be using, I don't know, but I don't possess that kind of brain, okay? Other examples that we could talk about other skills would be Interrogation is gonna put us again into Aftershock, which is not gonna apply the core. And with interrogation flow, we are also going to be having the same inconsistency. So if we do aftershock, that it's in cooldown, and we do interrogation forward F, it's also going to cast Spearbolt. So the same issue all over again. And we could talk about other possibilities, which we said Surge would put us also into Spearbolt. It's going to prioritize Spearbolt, and it's only going to be able to cast Spearbolt. But if we go, for example, into SRB and forward F, we are also going to be using Spearbolt. Last couple of things that we can learn from Spearbolt is going to be that in the middle of the cast of Spearbolt or Aftershock, we can go into forward Q, and it's gonna like keep us moving and keep, you know, the fight going without being unprotected, right? That's always going to be good to use and have in mind. And last but not least, if we ever encounter ourselves with getting a long distance grab, we can cast Spearbolt and it's going to do the fast cancel. Over there it did the long cast of Spearbolt, but if we get a long range grab, we're always going to be casting on the fast cast version of Spearbolt. Next skill I want to talk about is Empaling Flash. This skill by itself covers quite a bit of distance, up until this rock pretty much. And it's also going to be one of our more useful reaction iframes that we're going to be using. Quite short cooldown. It's going to apply a knockback at the end of the hit. And here's where the good thing to know it's going to come by. If we are in close range, like super close to our target, and we cast Empaling Flash, we're going to go through it. That's important because we might skip a couple of targets, like we want to get out of the situation that we got into. We just get into close distance and we're going to be able to bypass them. But it's also important to know that the distance traveled is going to be shortened up if we actually impact someone. To talk a little bit further into Empaling Flash, this skill is something that we have to think about not actually aiming at our targets. And here's the reason why. Let's say that we have someone targeted doing whatever, and we do Empaling Flash. As we said before, it's gonna be a knockback on hit. If we actually aim on the over there, the NPC, the dummy is gonna get CC'd because it's always gonna get CC'd. But if it's protected, let's say on a frontal guard, and we are aiming at the target, it's not gonna get CC'd. So the trick for it is to calculate how the ending of that skill is gonna be, missing on purpose the mob, and getting to hit on the back of the mob. That way we will still get the hit. As you saw there, I'm not finishing on top of the mob because I'm not hitting the mob, but there's an AoE covering the tip of the Empaling Flash, and that's key in most of the scenarios on how to get the CC on the back of your opponents. Next mobility skill that we can talk about would be Divine Executioner or Shift Q and Judgment. Not much to say about this skill. The fast cast is kind of annoying, so ideally we want to cancel it. The only possible cancels that we can have are gonna be out of Rift Storm, which is Shift LMB, and then we would go into Shift Q, avoiding the throwing spear animation into the air. And the other possibility to cancel Divine Executioner would be Aether Spear into Divine Executioner, which also puts us up in the air immediately, which is already another like sort of reactive iframe if we are gonna be canceling, and it's gonna help us out with the upsurge and also having another reactive iframe, right? One cool trick that we have with Divine Executioner is that we have to separate the skill not only onto, forward Q, but also the skill in itself. Whenever we are gonna land, we have the spear throw, which you could see in front of me, and the place where I'm landed. They are separated hits. So let's say you have someone that it's a little bit further that you want to aim, the spear landing is gonna do a little bit, just a little bit. It's not much, but it's gonna do damage. Divine Executioner is by nature gonna be one of our like sort of try to evade fences or obstacles that are on our way. So, like for example, we would be inside of someone's base and we want to get out of the fences. We can just bypass elements that are in front of us, which, not gonna lie, is also a very good, important thing to have in mind, because that makes us a terrific base diver, because of how we can just keep moving and running around structures and getting out within a very short cooldown. So that would make us having Shifty as reactive iframes, Bolt on the overcharged state, Judgment, which would be forward Q, would be another, and if we fast cast or cancel the beginning of the cast of Divine Executioner, would also give us another reactive iframe. We can also count as Spearbolt and Aftershock as reactive iframes, but we would actually need to cast RMB in between or some other skill, so it's not like as reactive. It's more like depending on the flow of the battle, you can get it off. And last but not least, we would have Rift Chain, which we can always go into after Bolt or after Void Eruption. Now, Void Eruption is a pretty good skill to just like transition from Awakening and fast cancel into Rift Chain, so I always suggest having that whenever we are doing PvP. You guys simply have to quick slot Void Eruption, and that's it. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed and learned quite a bit of the cancels for the movement skills. Feel free to combine them as you please, because all the cancels can be combined within one or the others. And in some other separated videos, we will see how to apply the positioning and the movement into both PvE and PvP. So yeah, can't wait for you guys to see those ones coming. So see you on the next one.